Hi, I'm Chip Foose, and you know me as a car designer and a car freak. I love cars. But most of you don't know that I am also a bicycle freak. And when I was 12 years old, I actually had my own bicycle shop on the side yard of my parents' house. And what I used to do is I'd go to garage sales and swap meets and I'd buy bikes, I'd bring them home, I'd take them apart, and I would nail into the fence on the side yard, put nails in the fence so I could hang the parts on it. Then I would pick a frame and I would pick the parts. I would throw the frame in the back of my father's truck. I would ride to school, he would drive to work, I'd ride to the shop after school, and then I would actually, after 5 o'clock, I would sand the frames and I would paint them. I'd bring them home in the back of my dad's truck, and then I would assemble bikes and put them at the end, and those bikes were on sale. And the neighbor kids would come in and I was selling those bikes. Well, one weekend my father came back to the side yard and he noticed that I had broken a couple of the fence stakes and said, "That's it, you're done with the bike shop. I want you to get rid of everything." So I sold everything off, but I still love bikes. And at the turn of the century, 1900, there were over 5,000 registered bike manufacturers in America. That was modern transportation. When automobiles and motorcycles started being produced, a lot of those bicycle shops became vendors for those manufacturers. And as you know, I just told you, I am a bike lover. And I've got several examples here in my collection that I would like to share with you. Number one, I have a 1906 Columbia-Pope Chainless. You notice there's no chain. But if you can see up on the shelf behind us, there's a high wheel bicycle, black high wheel up there. That is actually an 1884 Columbia-Pope high wheel. The reason bikes were designed that way was because they had not invented the chain yet. So it was a large wheel. The bigger you could get that front wheel and the faster you could pedal, the faster you could go. As I said, this was modern transportation, and that's what racing was all about. Those high wheels were all done, they were racing and also, to get from point A to point B. It was later they invented the chain, and they also invented the chainless so they could get rid of that high wheel. If you've ever heard the term, he took a header, well, that's from the high wheel bicycles, because when you were racing or when you were riding one of those, and if you actually stumbled on something and went over the front, you usually hit your head, and that's where the term "he took a header" came from. But this one being 1880 or 1906, you notice it's still got wooden wheels. They're 28-inch wheels. It's got some amazing little details on it. I love the seat and the finish that's on it. It's the original seat still on this bike. And one of the other things is the grips. A lot of people think that these are wood. These are actually animal horns or antlers that are shaved down to that shape. They're really durable. I never knew that until just recently. I thought they were wood, and started talking to some bike collectors, and they're the ones that told me about that. But this one being as I said, a 1906 Columbia-Pope chainless bicycle. I also have a 2-speed chainless that's in pieces. I'm still searching and finding the parts. One day I hope to have that one restored as well. But I love these bikes, and I'm going to show you a few more. Well, here we are with my 1936 Elgin Bluebird. Now, Sears had a designer named Juan Rodolphus Morgenski designed this bike in 1935. The U.S. Patent Office actually gave them a patent on the frame design. There is no tube up here. It's actually stamped steel tank that even the sidebars, that's all stamped, welded all through the center here. And if you're a bike collector, this is one of the most sought after pre-war bicycles that people want to collect. There are about 25 known to exist today that are restored. Now, when I bought this, it had been restored, but it was in pieces. I bought it and assembled it myself. I had another one that I ended up selling to get this one. I had a maroon one, but because the name is a Bluebird, I really wanted a blue Bluebird. And quite honored to have this one in my collection. It's such a beautiful Art Deco design, and everything on this bike is what I believe to know as the original parts. There may be a couple reproduction pieces, but as far as I know, this is an all original, as they were sold. They never had a chain guard on them, but I've seen a couple with chain guards, and they are actually really pretty. Wald had a beautiful leather little feather tail chain guard that I've seen on a couple of these. It's beautiful, and I'd actually like to find one of those and maybe paint it and put it on this bike, because I think it adds to it. But quite honored to have the Elgin Bluebird in the collection, and like I say, I think only 25 known to be restored to this day, and not a whole lot of them that are unrestored. It's a pretty rare, hard to find bike. What we have in front of us now is a 1956 Schwinn Phantom. And if you're a bicycle collector, this is probably the most restored bike in the history of bike restorations. This bike I've had for probably 15 years now, and it was given to me by a friend of mine who was moving out of state and didn't want to take it with him, and he knew that I was really into bikes, so thank you again, Mike. I really appreciate it, and I love this bike in my collection. I also have a 1996 recreation of this bike. I have one that's hanging in the paint shop that was a gift from Boyd. When they were originally producing those reproducing those Phantom bicycles, if you're familiar with Dennis Rickless, who used to pinstripe all the cars on overhauling, he also striped this car here, the Ken Reister's Impression. But Dennis Rickless was the one that was doing all the pinstriping on these bikes. Boyd actually bought 2 of these from Dennis and gave me the serial number 1956 also, that's hanging in our paint shop now. But this one is an all original. It was restored and it's absolutely beautiful, and I'm honored to have it in my collection. Thank you. What you're seeing in front of me now is a 1972 orange Krate made by Schwinn. Now in 1963 is when Schwinn started building the Stingrays with the banana seat. But in 1968 they started to build the Krate bikes, and they had the mag style front sprocket, they had the cushion spring sissy bar on the back of the seat, they had the 5-speed shifter, it had a front drum brake with the 16 and the 20-inch wheels, and the ape style handlebars, and they were absolutely selling like hotcakes. They were all the rage. Now this one's a real rare one because it has the, I think they were only made in 1 year, the disc brake, 72, maybe 71 they also made them. I'm not positive on that, but this bike is an unrestored, all original that I got from John at Orange Cycle in Orange, California. He had this sitting up in his rack. I don't know how long it was there, but I bugged him for a long time before he gave it up to me, because it's truly an honor to have an unrestored, all original orange Krate with the drum brake, or disc brake, sorry. And I also have a lemon peeler with original factory painted fenders. Most of them came chrome, but if you ordered, you get painted fenders with stripes. I have the lemon peeler with the striped painted fenders, and I also have a cotton picker, which was only built 2 years. But you know, I'm pretty proud to have all of the Krate bikes that I have, and I also have a few Schwinns, but this one is truly an honor to have in my collection as well. All right, now, you know, I've got a lot of bikes in my collection, but this is probably the one that means the most to me sentimentally, because this is a recreation of the bike that I had in 1978-79 is when I actually built it for myself. And the reason I had to recreate it is mine was stolen, and I was devastated when it was stolen. But back then in 1978 and 79, when I built this bike, I used to ride it to and from school. I'd go to school, I'd go to work, throw it in the back of my dad's truck, and we'd ride home together at night. But because I was riding it and then also racing it and having fun doing freestyle work, I actually took a Schwinn 10-speed front quick release, and I could raise and lower the seat just using the quick release. So I recreated that on this bike. And when I bought all the parts, what I did back then is I took all the aluminum pieces once they were done, and I sent them to a friend of mine who did anodizing. He stripped them and replated them so I had all of the same color on my bike. So I did the same thing on this one. Now, a friend of mine gave me the bicycle frame, and I went ahead and restored that. And I had a few of the original aluminum pieces from when I was a kid, and I found a lot of other parts on eBay. And then a friend of mine, Greg Cox from Artistic Silver Plating, he went ahead and stripped all the aluminum stuff, polished it, and re-anodized it so everything matches with the Cook Brothers hubs. And I've got the Shimano cranks. I hope Devin's going to share those photos with you, because it's pretty cool to remember what I was riding when I was 16 years old, and to have that reproduction right here in front of me. You know, I was riding it 40 years ago, and I'm planning on riding it now. So until next time, I'll share a few more bikes with you, but I'm out of here. Thank you.